College football week 5, and oh boy, big one. Number 2 Georgia travels to Tuscaloosa to take on number 4 Alabama. This will be prime time, 6:30 on ABC. Georgia is currently a 2-point favorite on the road. And Ted, it almost feels like it should be against the law for Alabama to be able to play the underdog at home card. That doesn't feel fair. This is ridiculous. It's not fair. This should be against the law.
Yeah. I, what is the first time since like 2007 or something like that
Yeah,
that they've been an
crazy.
underdog in their own stadium. And they're playing well, and it feels like they're going to continue to improve. So, and Georgia on the other, see, I always Georgia is interesting to me. I can never tell if there's like some legitimate issues there and maybe they've plateaued, or do they just get bored until they've got a big matchup and then they show up ready to roll. But they haven't given up a touchdown since the last time they played Alabama last year. So they're still playing good on that side of the ball. I think it's going to be a good contest, man.
I I find it very interesting that, let's be real, Kirby has not fared well against Bama.
Yeah.
Now Saban is gone. I get that, but all these guys from Bama are going to be very, very confident walking into this football game. And there is going to be an incredible amount of talent on the field in this game. NFL players everywhere you look. But I think Bama has the home field advantage, and I think Bama has the most dynamic player on the field, and that's Jalen Milroe. It seems like Kalen DeBoer has been able to help him grow as a passer. At least he looks more confident as a passer. And the dude is an absolute weapon with his legs, whether it's called QB run game or maybe the most terrifying thing, him as a scrambler. And I don't see a playmaker like that so far for Georgia. I think Carson Beck is really good. But I don't see a playmaker like Milroe for Georgia. So that's why I think Alabama's going to win the football game.
Yeah. Uh, it's hard to argue with that. Georgia has kind of struggled, or I guess struggled against Kentucky offensively, didn't run the ball very well, found themselves in third and long quite a bit, which, they're typically able to avoid. Um, I kind of think it comes down to how does Alabama's defense play. Um, I think Georgia, like I said, struggles a little bit at time for motivation going into football games and maybe feeling like some games don't deserve their full attention. It's what happens whenever you win as much as they've won lately. It's hard to keep those guys bought in and focused and not feel like they're just going to walk out there and beat everyone. So I feel like Georgia's going to have a little bit more edge to them in this one than what we've seen this year. And we saw it against Clemson in the second half. Once they really got rolling, they were looked really, really good. So I think I'm going to go with Georgia, but I honestly believe it's a coin flip game, and I'm anxious to see what's the fallout both sides with a loss. Because Georgia, didn't make the playoff last year. I mean, they've obviously got it rolling, but when you've been as good as they have for so long, are people going to feel like the window's leaving them? And for Alabama, if they lose, are they going to feel like this is the Saban effect, as good as we've been against Georgia? And now that he's gone, we've got him at home and we can't pull off the win. Is that going to be something that kind of hurts us down the stretch? I don't know. Just kind of curious how both of these teams respond. Whoever loses the game, how they respond, and what's the fallout.
If I was Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban's in the building all week with me.
No kidding.
I do think this is I think this is a game that could come down to 5 or 6 throws for Carson Beck. And I think that a lot of people view him kind of as the best version, like as an elite game manager. And if he can go out in this game and make the difference making throws, like, and it feels like he goes and wins Georgia the football game and they walk out of there with a win. I think that will change how not all, but some people view him. And there are going to be plays to be made against that Alabama secondary. Does he make the throws or not? Does that wide receiver core go and win? But my last thought on the game is there are a lot of negatives to conference realignment. This football game is not one of them.
Right.
Divisionless SEC because OU and Texas join. And now we get to watch, let's be real, we get to watch the two premier programs in college football go at it in the regular season. We don't have to wait till the SEC championship game like we have for a lot of years. And I love it. Let's go.
Oh, I totally agree. It's awesome. And it pretty much every single week for the rest of the year, there's going to be an awesome SEC matchup. But let me ask you one more quick question on that game. What quarterback, like, kind of forget that it's at Alabama, and I know it is, and you have to factor that in this game. But what quarterback do you trust more to be able to put a game-winning drive together?
Milrow.
Milrow.
And it's nothing against Carson Beck. I just watching Jalen Milrow at his size run the way that he does. I'm not a defensive guy, but it like stresses me out for defenses.
2-minute drill with the quarterback that can scramble is a nightmare.
Carson Beck's great. I think he's probably going to be the first quarterback off the board in the draft, but Milrow is just, he terrifies me with
Yeah.
his athleticism.
Well,
And
there's a
some
lot.
people try to make it sound like the guy can't even like his arm doesn't work, like he can't throw the football.
Right.
It's he can push it down the field. I know that.
He's probably the, I guess, like the closest thing, and I think he's more athletic, but I can't think of another quarterback other than Dak Prescott that's got similar size and can move
Similar build, yeah.
because he's athletic, but most athletic quarterbacks are not built like a Mike linebacker. They're usually smaller frame guys that have quickness and whatever. He's gigantic.
If you put him, if you didn't say anything and you put him in a, let's say you put him in a 20 or in a 40 or in a 50, and you put him at Mike linebacker for Alabama, who's got creatures all over the field, no one would blink.
No.
They'd go, that guy. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, look at the size on that guy at the Mike Backer spot. That's exactly what they would say. The guy is a
Wouldn't
freak
shock
show.
me if they pulled the what was the guy's name at Iowa State? Uh what Lanning? What was the guy he played quarterback and linebacker for him?
At Iowa State?
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about. It wasn't. Yeah, no, it was Lanning. Joel
Is that
Lanning.
his last name? Something like that.
No, I think you're right. I think it was Lanning. Nailed it. I think you got it.
I was lucky. I don't know how that happened.
Look at you.
Played quarterback and linebacker. Nice.
On to the next game. Number 20 Oklahoma State traveling to Manhattan to take on number 23 Kansas State. 11 a.m. on ESPN. Kansas State currently a 4.5 point favorite at home. And this one feels, it's only week 5. I don't want to be dramatic, but this one feels big for both teams with them both coming off a loss. And
It was big for a totally different reason than it did a week ago.
yes, it feels like a Big 12 contender elimination game. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also kind of feels like whoever, like, let's say Oklahoma State loses the football game, then you're looking and saying, wow, they got away with one against Arkansas. They got pushed around against Utah, and then they just lost to a Kansas State team that got blown out by BYU. I mean, you go from a team that was considered one of the favorites to win the Big 12, and you start to say, are we any good at all? And kind of the same thing for K State. It's like after that BYU game and how they've looked a little bit this year, and all of a sudden this one looks like if you lose to Oklahoma State at home, well, how good are we? It's pretty wild. Neither team has really looked like we expected them to up to this point.
Feels like a big one for Avery Johnson
Yeah.
and his confidence. And because he did not play particularly well in Provo last weekend. And let's be real, Oklahoma State's defense is gettable. They are susceptible to the big play. It's not like they've been some wrecking crew defensively. They gave up big plays to Utah's backup, right? And he had some massive plays with his legs in that game. But I do wonder if we'll see Kansas State be a little more run heavy overall and kind of play to the strengths of Avery Johnson. But on the other side of things, K State is giving you the run game. They play the 3-3-5 stuff. They say, hey, if you want to run it for 3 yards, 4 yards a pop, go ahead. We're not going to give up the big plays. If they can't get Ollie Gordon going against this K State defense, then it's going to be a very long season for Oklahoma State.
Yeah. I agree. That's kind of been the big shock. Now, I did think before the season started that Ollie Gordon's not going to surprise anyone this year and get rolling before people start to really focus on eliminating him. It feels like everyone has the main focus is eliminate Ollie Gordon, and there ain't much left. So curious to see how K State plays that. If they kind of play standard 3-3-5 philosophy, bend don't break, make you go all the way down the field, wait on you to make the first mistake, or do they say, let's crowd them, let's attack them, let's shut down the run game, and we'll put it on the arm of Bowman and see if we can get him in 3rd and long and have him throw us the football.
Give me K State at home. I, I think they're just a different team in Manhattan, and I don't know if you can't run the ball at all. As much as I like Brennan Presley as a player, feed that man, Alan Bowman. Come on. As much
Which
as I like some of the receivers for Oklahoma State, if you can't run the ball, man, it's hard to play offense at a high level. It just is.
I didn't hear Gundy. Are we sure it's Bowman?
I You can't run Garrett Rangel out there, man. You just
Okay.
can't. Maybe he will. Hey, Gundy will do whatever he pleases. He's my Gundy, but I don't know. I assume it's going to be Bowman. They pulled him. They brought him back in
Yeah.
last week. It's got to be Bowman.
Yeah. That's what I would expect, but I guess you never know. I'm going K State too, and I'm only because I don't think Oklahoma State is going to be able to get Ollie Gordon going. And until they do, I think it's going to be hard for him to beat anybody at this point. So maybe they figure something out and finally get him off and running, get him some confidence and get confident in that running game. But until it happens, I'm going to take the other side, unfortunately.
Are you more interested in Louisville at Notre Dame or Illinois at Penn State?
Probably Illinois at Penn State,
Really?
but well, I think Illinois is a sneaky good football team that doesn't get a lot of credit and hasn't gotten a lot of credit for a while, but they're really solid on defense. And, his teams have always played physical. They're just a good, solid all around team. But
He's also been poking the bear. You see that?
No, what
Whiteout
do you say?
energy, whatever the hell
Oh,
that means. I mean, Bielema is, I mean, he has not shied away. He is, I mean, he is antagonizing Penn State's crowd leading
good
into
for
this
him.
football game, which I love.
Yeah.
They're also a 17.5 point dog.
Uh, hey, embrace the difficulty. Let's make it as hard as we can on ourselves. I guess there's got to be something to say for that.
The
But the
Teddy
Louisville
Lehman
Notre Dame
method.
game is it's interesting. Notre Dame has found themselves kind of teetering, haven't they?
Yeah, how many people, how long do you think it'll take people to realize that you have to have Peacock to watch that football game? I think people probably still have it from the Olympics, don't you think?
I think everyone at this point has everything. They've
All the
accomplished
streaming services.
they've accomplished the goal where everyone is like triple dipping. Everyone has like direct TV or cable and all the streaming services and like Hulu and YouTube and all of those things. At least that's what this household is like.
Number 15 Louisville at number 16 Notre Dame. That's 2:30 on Peacock. Am I crazy to think that Louisville can go into South Bend and win this game outright?
No,
I,
not
Tyler
crazy
Shuck
at
is
all.
healthy. When he's healthy, he's a good player. And Louisville's defense has they have held up well to the run this season. You know that's what Notre Dame is going to want to do. Notre Dame is undoubtedly their biggest test yet, but I don't think it's crazy to think that Riley Leonard is going to have to make some throws in this game for Notre Dame to produce offensively, and he has not looked good throwing the football this season so far.
Notre Dame has been fantastic so far at taking really good, productive quarterbacks and turning them into average or below average players really quickly. There's something about the place that the offense just it will never ever be explosive. It's not going to happen.
Jackson Arnold, the quarterback for Notre Dame next year.
I don't know. We'll see how the rest of this year goes.
I
Hey,
There's
if
a lot
Mike,
of football to be played for Oklahoma, but it
I,
just throwing it out there.
I will say if Mike Hawkins starts the rest of the season, and that's what we have. Jeff Lebby is going to have a full court press to get Jackson Arnold to Mississippi State.
Agreed. Fair.
But whether or not he could, I mean, there's going to be a bunch of people, I would guess.
I think Notre Dame can outbid Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know that for a fact, but just something to think about. Jackson Arnold could lead a second half comeback against Auburn, and that could be a completely
Hey,
pointless.
I will say, like, this is not this portion of the podcast, but I think we're going to need him again this year. And
Yeah.
Mike Hawkins is going to run around, not a big guy. He wasn't in very long before he went flipping onto his head into the end zone. So, you know, I we're going to need him to still be a part of this football team for sure.
One more thought on the Notre Dame Louisville game. It feels like a massive game for Marcus Freeman. You
I
lost to
agree.
Northern Illinois at home, who then went and lost the next week, by the way. You can't be losing to Northern Illinois and Louisville
No,
if you're Notre Dame.
not when you start the season as a top 10 football team.
Yeah. So feels rather significant for Marcus Freeman's future. I think everyone around there really likes him. I think he's recruiting at a high level.
Yes.
I think he's improving the roster. Quarterback continues to be an issue for him, but it's a results driven business.
Yep.
You lost to Northern Illinois at home. You only get one of those.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think Louisville, I think Jeff Brom's a heck of a coach. I think they
Yeah.
can go in there and win that game, but that would not be good for Marcus Freeman's future at Notre Dame.
It's gonna get uncomfortable for sure. At a minimum, it's going to be very, very uncomfortable.